Hey there, Legal Tea listeners. This is your host, Jenny Roselle. We are back to the celebrity estate planning topic, and for today's episode, we are going to dive into what happened following the death of a very well-known book's author, the author of the book, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The author's name is Stieg Larsson. Now, if you are a big fan of the book, you already know this, but in case you aren't, or maybe you have forgotten, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was actually the first book of a series called the Millennium series. According to Wikipedia, Stieg intended on having 10 books in this series, but unfortunately, he was only able to complete 3 of the 10 before his unexpected death. The 3 were The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which was published in 2005, The Girl Who Played with Fire, which was published in 2006, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, which was published in 2007. Due to his unexpected death, a couple other authors have stepped up to continue the series, which is kind of cool. And as we always do on these celebrity estate planning episodes, let's talk a little bit about Stieg as a person before we get into what happened with his estate. According to his Wikipedia page, Stieg was born in Sweden, and from what I can tell, he lived his entire life in Sweden. On his 12th birthday, his parents gifted him a typewriter, and perhaps that fueled his love for writing because around 17 years old, Stieg developed an immense interest in science fiction specifically, both reading and writing. Then later in life, according to Britannica Online, in 1977, Stieg started working at a news agency in Sweden, where he started working in the graphic design department, but ended up later shifting over into the journalism department. He worked there for about 22 years. Then, really in the 1980s and 1990s, Stieg really took an interest in writing about some of the various political stuff that was going on during that time. Like, for example, he did some writing for a British magazine on investigating and exposing fascism. He also did some writing on some pretty extreme right movements that were happening in political right movements that were happening in Sweden. Then in 2001, he started actively writing fiction, and that appears to be when he started working on the Millennium series. Tragically, in 2004, Stieg died of a heart attack after climbing some stairs. The whole story about him climbing stairs was actually it's really sad. According to an article on the Guardian, Stieg actually went for an appointment in a building and the lift was broken. So he decided to walk up 7 flights of stairs. And once at the top, he began feeling ill, was rushed to the hospital. There he died. He was only 50 years old. Interestingly, if you were paying close attention, I said he started actively writing the Millennium series books, but interestingly, because the timing of his death and where he was with his writing, he'd completed those 3 books that I referenced earlier, but had not yet published them. Well, according to Wikipedia, they had been accepted for publication, but none had actually been printed. So the first 3 books, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, were all published after his death, which is so sad, right? That he didn't get to see how that series absolutely took off. Now, on to a more personal note, Stieg was never married, but had a longtime partner, Eva Gabrielsen. They were together and lived together from 1974 until Stieg's death in 2004. They did not have any children together. And according to a blog by Streeter Law Group, a law firm in California, it was confirmed after Stieg's death that a last will and testament was discovered. It was dated in 1977. So if you're connecting all these dots, that was certainly before he started writing the Millennium series. That was actually when he started working at the news agency, if you're really paying close attention. But he and Ava were already together at that point too. So that last will and testament said that everything Stieg owned, like assets, were to be distributed to a political party, And according to Wikipedia, it was the now considered Socialist Party of Sweden. And here's the thing, though. The will was never signed by a witness. So according to that blog and many other sources, his will was held to be invalid. Therefore, because that will was held invalid, his estate, which included the rights to these novels, according to Swedish law, was to be distributed to his father and his brother. According to Wikipedia, his mother had died when he was very young. So it sounds like without an estate plan, his estate would be distributed to his closest family members, which, like I said, was his father and brother. Here's the kicker, though. According to the Streeter Law Group's blog, Stieg was somewhat estranged from both his father and brother. But, of course, after these claims came out, Stieg's father and brother said that they were not estranged. So, Ava did also come out and say that the estrangement was true. So, who knows? Like I always tell people, usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. So after Stieg died and the estate saga began, Ava was surprised to say the least. The Guardian article that I have referenced on here already is a fascinating read. If you're really interested in his story and what happened estate-wise, you should definitely check it out. So Ava was interviewed for the article. So it's interesting really to hear her personal thoughts and her perspective and opinion on things. For example, she shared that while Stieg was alive, he had, quote, told her he was setting up a company in which she would be a co-founder and into which they would pay all the money they earned for books and articles, end quote. Well, she continued this sharing that he also said, quote, that there was no need to start dealing with the massive paperwork like wills, for example, because they would be equal co-owners of everything, and the company's statutes would stipulate that if one of us died, the other would get everything, end quote. Unfortunately, after Stieg passed away, according to the Guardian piece, Ava discovered that the company never got set up. In that moment, she shared that while she was devastated, she figured she would still have a claim to Stieg's estate. And in fact, she shared that she crossed paths with Stieg's father, who said he, quote, did not want any part of the estate, as well as Stieg's brother, who said that there must be a way to carry out Stieg's wishes and set up the company even after the fact. So Stieg's father and brother must have had a change of heart, or maybe it's just a classic game of he said, she said. Who knows? We'll never know. Because it was shortly after these exchanges between Ava and Stieg's father and brother that she discovered that Stieg's estate would be distributed to them. The apartment home that her and Stieg lived in was jointly owned between Stieg and Ava, though even that became a point of contention because Stieg's half went according to the estate. So Stieg's half interest in the property was supposed to be distributed to Stieg's father and brother. The house that Ava was living in, to be half owned by Stieg's father and brother. So according to the Guardian article, she says that they offered her their half to Ava, like Stieg's father and brother offered her just to take the half, only if she would give them Stieg's laptop. Well, she declined the offer. In 2007, so about 3 years after Stieg had died, Stieg's father and brother just gave up and let Ava keep her house. And basically they said, you can take our half interest in this house. Then later on in 2009, Stieg's father and brother said that they would settle with Ava for 1.7 million in euros. Again, Ava declined their offer. In the Guardian interview, Ava was asked what her and her lawyers were shooting for. And Ava said, quote, "It is the same as always, that I would manage the literary legacy for a fee, which would be a percentage that the family themselves could decide or propose. I think after 2 or 3 years, my lawyers suggested I would get 20% for managing the literary legacy, and they don't want that. They could keep 80%, but they want the control, or the businesses around them do, because it gives them maximum freedom," end quote. Now, that Guardian article that I've repeatedly referenced was released in 2011. We're sitting here in 2004. 2011 was a long time ago. So I started looking for any type of update to give you guys, a more current update. And I can't believe what I'm about to say, but I couldn't find anything, guys, to confirm if things were still going on or not. Though regardless of how things ended in the estate litigation stuff, the lessons and the takeaways from Stieg Larsson's estate are really the same. First, if you're an unmarried couple or know of an unmarried couple, it is absolutely critical to get an estate plan together, especially if you share assets and especially if you have desires to first have each other make decisions, like whether it's healthcare decisions or financial or legal decisions, and or second, to ensure a clean distribution of assets as you want. I think a lot of people think a relationship like Stieg and Ava here would fit the definition of a common law marriage. Well, whether it does or does not, clearly it did not under Swedish law. But here in the United States, not every state recognizes common law marriages. Some states don't even recognize that. Some states even don't recognize common law marriage, but they do grant like cohabitating couples some rights, like under contract law, and I won't even go down that rabbit hole. But so the surefire way to protect each other, an unmarried couple to protect each other, is to first discuss estate planning, second, to do estate planning, and third, follow through on any additional estate planning related actions. So you think like if there's a trust involved, make sure you do trust funding or update beneficiary designations. Like here in Stieg's case, he shared with Ava that he was going to be starting that company, but never did, right? I'm sure he did not do it intentionally or maliciously. He probably had the idea in his head and just didn't get around to acting on it. Now, between his lack of estate plan since his will was not appropriately signed and his lack of follow-through about creating the company, it really left his longtime partner Ava in a world of hurt. Who knows? Like I said, the estate saga may still be going on today. I'm not sure since I can't find anything. I can't find anywhere that things were ultimately closed and settled, so I'm just really not sure. Regardless, even if it did close up and settle finally, I think we can all agree that there was still a lot of unnecessary fighting and delay due to Stieg's oversight in this, which is such a bummer. Alrighty, I think we're ready to wrap this episode up, my friends. Next week, we are back to a cautionary tale episode where we talk about real-life clients, real-life cases that I or my office have worked on, or maybe they're just generally good things to know and be aware of so that you don't slip up and turn into a cautionary tale one day. Always good stuff on these episodes. And a little insider secret, these tend to be my more popular episodes that I get a lot of feedback on. So anyway, so next week we are going to talk about timeshares and specifically when timeshares intersect with my estate world. So sometimes we deal with them while we're creating an estate plan, and other times we have to deal with them after someone passes away. So tune in for that conversation next week. Until then, take care and be well.